And it wasn't like, oh, go away to like, upstate or, go to like, somewhere close. I was going to China.
And so I'm so excited that we have Kaveena and Akeem here with us today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you guys for joining.
Every relationship has like things that make it interesting, right?
Yeah.
And when we were talking to Kaveena, we were talking about like there's a lot of travel involved in their relationship. There's a lot of uniqueness to things that that they've experienced as a couple, and so we think it's very interesting, how that dynamic works for them. And so.
And you guys are a long distance relationship, or at one point you were a long distance relationship as well.
Yes.
And I don't want to tell too much, so we'll let you guys talk about it. So the first question that we have for you guys is, how is it dealing with a long distance relationship? Give us like a backdrop of how your long distance relationship looks like.
Okay. Well.
All right. So, a little bit of how we got into a long distance relationship was we started dating for 3 months.
Yes.
And then I got an opportunity to travel abroad. And I came to her a couple of weeks and said, listen, I have to go away for a year. And it wasn't like, oh, go away to like, upstate or, go to like, somewhere close. I was going to China,
around the world.
Did you say it? Did you say it as calmly as you just said it? Be like, listen.
Like, look.
No,
look,
because
babe,
this,
I'm just.
this is how he is 24/7 anyway.
Very calm, collected. Yep.
Yes. And meanwhile, I'm like, what do you mean you have to? Like, I'm always, and he's like, okay.
I can see it. Hey, babe, guess what? So I'm gonna just go. I gotta go somewhere for like about a year, about a little bit a year, and it's in China. So
it like so nonchalant.
It's just China's corner.
Yeah,
I'll be right next door. I'll be just one, couple countries over. I'll be right there.
And I was like, excuse me? I mean, I guess, like, I was kind of a little taken back by that, and he took me to, like, our spot, like, where we, like, there's, like, a,
I had to set the scene.
Good thinking. Good man.
Yeah.
Okay, it was, like, a lake, river, fountain thing, and we're sitting there, and he's like, I have to tell you something. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I got an offer to go to China for a year, so I was like...
You were like, check, please.
That's it all. Is that all? Okay.
And this was 3 months into us dating. And this is something I was planning on doing before we started dating.
Right.
Which he told me about, actually.
Right. And things kind of fizzled out. And then when the opportunity came back again, I brought it to her. And I think it speaks to her character to be supportive, because to be dating for 3 months and then say, well, I have to leave, she can easily be like, I don't think this is going to work out. I think it's best if we go our separate ways. But it speaks to her character that she was able to say, like, all right, I'm supportive of you and I want to keep trying to build on this relationship, although we're going to be in a long distance relationship. So when things started, so I went away in 2018, and we had about a 12-hour difference. Time difference.
Wow.
Yeah, it was when he's going to bed, I'm waking up, and vice versa. And also at the time, I had just started grad school, so I was waking up, traveling back and forth to school and having evening classes. So while I'm trying to catch him before he goes to bed, getting out of class, he's like, I have to get up for class really early. So, and I'm so used to being on the phone with him, traveling back and forth, I couldn't really stay on the phone with him like that. So that was really hard for that first semester.
Right.
While you were away. That was really
first or second semester?
My second semester. Yeah, that was really hard because I was used to him being there, or being on the phone, or he stays with me on the phone, or you know, he helps me out if I'm tired. He's like, you know, I'll pick you up from work and take you to school. So not having that support system there, it really shows how much somebody is there for you until they're away. And then you're, oh man, like, I really miss you. Not just because, you know, you help me out with food and like, you know, pick me up, but I legit have like that support system in person in the same time zone. Yeah. That was difficult. And it was hard because he was dealing with, you know, getting used to, like, he's been to China before, but it's different when you have to live there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have other coworkers and friends, but you're by yourself. You know, he has to miss Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the holidays with his family. Like, so he was dealing with that, and I felt helpless being here. Like, I don't know what to do. I couldn't help. So the beginning, that was really.
So, Kaveena, I just want to ask you a question. What was it, because y'all were only together for 3 months, right? So what was it that made you be okay with him going away for a year? Like, what made you want to stay in that relationship?
So with him, it was interesting because we were friends for 7 years prior to us dating. So it's not like he was a stranger and then, you know, like we liked each other and like he asked me out or anything like that. Like, we were legit friends where like we would hang out like all throughout college, and if either one of us was going through something, we would tell each other about it. Like, I considered him a legit friend. And then I honestly was not even looking to date anybody at the time when he asked me out. I was like, nah, I'm kind of living my life. I don't know about this. And, but it just so happened that, you know, I was like, you know what? It's Akeem. I'll give it a try, you know. And
wait, was you waiting, Akeem, for them 7 years for this opportunity? I just want to know. Like, don't.
You're like, this is my moment.
I know. Like, was you really like fighting on it for 7 years?
So, like she said, we were really good friends, and I was doing a self-evaluation. So I was 24, and at 24, I had the consciousness to know that I'm not going to be in the same situation that I was going to be when I'm 25, meaning that I want to be able to settle down eventually and start my life. And I started doing inventory and seeing who was in my life that has been here consistently, and someone who has been true friend. And then, you know, I thought of Kaveena, and I said, you know, I wonder why she's still on the market. You know? And it just came across to me, like I said, we were friends, and I'm like, you know, she's intelligent, she's beautiful, has the characteristics that any man would want in a woman. And I said, you know what? I am going to take a leap of faith and said, just ask her out on a date and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
So I asked her out on a date.
Yeah, and then that's how that all transpired. But I actually was not hesitant at all when I was upset because I'm like, you're really leaving me now when I found somebody that I like and this can actually go somewhere? Are you kidding me? Like, I was more like that, but it wasn't upset like, well, I'm not gonna be here for you. It was just the fact that I was gonna legit miss him, and I've never had that feeling with somebody before. So when he said that, I said, listen, you know, it's gonna be hard, but I'm here for you and I support you. So I actually wasn't too, you know, I said, whatever you need, you know, I'm going to be there to help you. So I didn't hesitate, but I was upset.
Yeah. And you had every right to be, you know.
I was upset. I'm not going to lie about it. I was like,
Right.
8 months to spend together between the time I asked her and the time that I left.
Yeah, that was the other thing. We thought he was leaving in February. So he told me in October of 2017. We thought he was leaving February 2018.
They wanted me to leave in November.
Right. They wanted you to leave then, and you said, no, I need time. So we're preparing for him to leave in February, and paperwork it was pushing back each month. Right. So every month it was just anticipating that he's going to leave. And then he ended up leaving that next August. So
we had some more time to.
Right. We actually had more time than we thought. So that God was just kind of like, okay, I see you're upset. We're going to give you some time. So that worked out actually very well, because then it gave me the whole summer with him. I spent the whole summer with him before he left. He was still here for his birthday.
Nice.
So we had to celebrate our anniversary like early. So we did that, but then he left and that's how that happened. So
got you.
Looking back at it now, it's like it's not that bad, but at the moment it was
well, I mean, hard. Just that first opening scene is like something on a movie. You know, the way you guys spoke about each other, the way you set the mood to tell her, and you're saying that we just started dating and in 3 months you gotta go somewhere for a year. Like that's something from like a rom-com movie or something. Right? Look, right script, I gave you the idea. But that's so awesome to hear how you guys talk about each other, because I think you guys, you know, are a younger generation experiencing this love journey, and you don't really hear stuff like that nowadays. You know what I mean? So to hear how you guys articulate, talk about your love for each other is like refreshing. And I think people of your age group should hear stuff like that. So I think that's awesome. So kudos to you on that. But I want to go to the next question. So I know that you guys have some things planned in the future, you know, as far as the two of you and what you want to do in life and to enjoy it. I think V, you called it the traveling couple experience, or tell me more about that. What's the traveling couples?
So we both, prior to us even dating, had traveled abroad during our bachelor's degree. It's funny because while I was in Europe traveling, he was in Asia traveling. We were there at the same time, and we would like talk to each other, even though we were just friends. We were both traveling, and we both love just learning different cultures and traveling. So we already had that in us individually, but then now coming together, it was just like even more. So our first trip together was Canada, and that was awesome. But then we started to make a bucket list of all the places that we wanted to go. And, you know, we said we're really going to actually do it. So when we left together to go. When he came back from his year of traveling, I then went to Asia too. So then now we're both there. So they give us a break where you're able to travel and everything. And we said, okay, we're going to come up with a very smart plan for the next few weeks and see where we wanted to go. And we picked our top places that we were going to travel to. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life personally. And it was amazing just traveling and going to different places, and even things like, you know, packing up and hopping on the plane and then sitting on the plane for hours and then going to the next one. We just lived for all of that. I guess the only thing that, it wasn't challenging, but we saw that was interesting was we saw nobody else that looked like us traveling. Especially
like, where's everybody at?
We were expecting. Right, we were expecting one
more pepper, more pepper in the.
More pepper. It was no pepper.
No pepper.
So we were like, oh, okay. So we stood out like a sore thumb everywhere we went. So we had to also be aware of our surroundings, probably twice as, you know, much as everybody else. So we were like, okay. There's also not even that there's not young couples traveling in those places, but we were like, where is us in general?
Yeah.
Like, not even just couples, but where's all the pepper anyway? So we thought that was really interesting, and how blessed we were to have those experiences and opportunities to travel to these countries. Like, you know, we went to Bangkok, Phuket, and I feel like I'm missing a place. Oh, Bali. We went to Bali. So we went to those 3 places. And we did see one couple, and which they looked a little older than us, but we kind of waved. We were like, oh, hey. It was like, hey. But then you don't want to seem too excited and like the sea of people. So you're like, all right, chill out. It's just people. You calm down, you know? Okay. So that happened. We saw maybe, I think, during our whole 3 weeks, we saw, I think, 2 couples that look like us.
Got you.
And they weren't even on.
You know what I feel like you guys uniquely have had the opportunity to experience that maybe most couples don't have? I mean, aside from the traveling, is that you had to deal with like the separation and to making the relationship more than just like the physical presence, right? Like you had to do deeper digging.
Yeah, connect on a whole different level. Yes. Because I think we had an interview, we spoke to another couple, and they were like long distance, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that.
Right.
You'll be surprised what comes out when you're apart, for sure. It's like you learn, and I learned so much from myself from that distance, even though I'm like, okay, you know, we still have 5 more months to go. It's a long time.
Yeah.
But I learned so much about myself that I was able to bring to him. It's like, hey, you know what I discovered while you were away? And, you know, he would say the same thing. And honestly, we got really creative. Like, we actually came and like showed. So he sent this to me. We were away for Valentine's Day. So he sent it to me in the mail, and my mom and my sister-in-law and my nieces are all like, oh my gosh, Akeem sent you something. How romantic. Like, they're all like screaming around the table. And I came home from class and this was sitting here. So it's like, we realized it wasn't us that was hard. It was the distance. Yeah. And once we got over that it wasn't us as a couple, we just grew from that tremendously.
You know what else awesome. I think too is unique about you guys? When you're traveling and you're going to like foreign countries and foreign places, and like you said, there's not a lot of pepper, there's not other couples, it really requires you to be dependent and to on each other. You know, it really requires you to be like one, which is one of the characteristics of marriage. Right.
Yep.
Like you against the world kind of thing.
Yeah, we had to stand, you know, have each other's backs in a way that I don't think a lot of couples learn until like later when things get really hard. But it's like, we're not even married yet, and we had to learn a little bit prematurely how to handle certain situations together, where it's like, listen, we can't do this here because we don't know our surroundings. And, you know, we have to have each other. We have to be in sync, like, all the time while traveling, because we're not in the comfort of our, you know, home country. So that played a big part in it as well, where now when we're traveling out, we're like one.
Now, do you think, exactly, like, we need to survive and get out of this alive? So do you think that that level of maturity came about because of your openness to viewing other parts of the world and other types of dynamics and cultures and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that we both traveled abroad prior to traveling on our own kind of set us up to take things a little bit easier. So when I first got to China, one of the most difficult things was communication and learning how to adapt, not just by yourself, but you also have to learn how to adapt as a couple. So the first thing that I did, I was placed inside of a hotel with no Wi-Fi.
That was hard.
And she had no way of knowing if I was safe or not. Mind you, this is in a foreign country, and this is day one. So if we're starting day one off with no form of communication, what is the rest of this journey gonna look like?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, like I said, I was able, because I traveled before, I knew the language and I knew a bit about the culture. So I used to go to a restaurant and connect to the Wi-Fi. I would stay there for like maybe 1 hour just to text her and let her know I was okay, and then go back to the hotel and
I just relived that moment.
She's waiting for the text, like the 1 hour text.
Right.
Oh my God.
But I can imagine.
Like, as he's saying it, I'm just having like all these flashbacks. That was a horrible.
But these are the type of things that forces us to adapt and mature a lot faster, because like I said, I didn't have constant communication with her. You know, I didn't have anything to distract me, you know. So I would be in my hotel and I would just like be flipping through pictures of us just to get by the next day. Like,
And I was gonna say too that stuff like that, you know, makes you value like those little things more. Like within that hour that you have to talk to her, you're making the most of it, because you know you're not gonna be able to get it until, you know, a long time later. So yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
We just didn't, you know, I would have when he left, we had a huge like sleepover with like all my nieces and nephews and stuff, and my cousins were over, my aunt. So that, me depending on my family during that time, because mind you, he has to also, I didn't hear from him for the first 24 hours, but that's also adding on top of the fact that he was in the air for like 15 hours and I couldn't hear from him. Mm-hmm. And I knew I wasn't going to hear from him because he skips a day when you travel there. So a whole day goes by and I have to wait for him to say I landed. And between me and his mom, we were like, I had to fit mentally really like go like, all right, God, I really need you to distract my brain, because I was just thinking about him. Any worst possible situation came to my head. Every single one. I'm like, oh my gosh, a dog is gonna like bite him. Like any crazy thing came to my mind.
What if he eats some bad lo mein? Like, I don't know.
What hospital is he going to? Right?
Oh
where is he going to get help?
Right. I don't know where he is. I don't know anybody there to talk to him, because I didn't know his friends at the time. That was a horrible 2 days. And it was more. Yeah, it was more than 2. And then getting used to the fact that if his Wi-Fi doesn't work one day, I just don't talk to him that day.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of put in your head like, okay, it's just the Wi-Fi. Nothing bad happened to him. That was a constant thing for 12 months. Like, sometimes you would be knocked out for days.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have Wi-Fi for days. That was horrible.
But you know what? The fact that you guys made it out of that, I think it just speaks to how stronger your love for each other is than just the average relationship. So you guys are setting yourself up very, very well. You know, make the movie, write the script,
write the book.
Write the book. I'll tell you, it's there. It's there. So we got a couple more questions for you guys. One is, if you guys had to give, I guess maybe in the essence of long distance relationships, if you had to give advice to another couple, what would you give them?
I actually wrote this same question that you asked. I wrote a blog about it because I have a blog, and when he was away, I wrote like 15 tips for long distance relationships and stuff. But definitely one of the things for sure that we both can agree on is we had to keep God first. So you know, we definitely did that, because without that, I feel like everything would have just crumbled. The second thing was praying with each other, but also praying for each other, because although he was out there and I would see him, you know, he's hanging out, he's traveling on his own, like he's going to Japan and all these places, and I'm sitting here like, okay, still,
that's
you know,
nice, right?
my home.
Right?
You know, like, You know, he's like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm taking kickboxing. I feel like he's doing all these great things. You know,
he told you
like,
everything.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm sitting there like, oh, okay. But he was going through his own thing, so I had to remember to pray for him as well. Another tip I would say is to definitely plan to see each other. I planned 2 trips to visit him while he was out there, and that really probably saved our relationship, to be honest. I went out there for 10 days for Christmas, and then another time in the summer, and I flew back with him. So there was that. Another thing is trust. I think without trust, there's no way you'll be able to survive along this.
Especially with that, like.
Oh yeah, no, you can't. You can't. I don't see how. If you don't have trust, you're not gonna work. It's just not. There's no way, because while you're sitting there, you're like, okay, everything's fine, everything's good. You know, you have to trust your partner.
Your Find My Apple or phone, Find My phone is not gonna work.
You have the GPS.
In China.
Like, you said you're going to be over here, and I see you over in this building. What's going on? Like you FaceTime me right now. Like, what?
Right. Like, you can't, you know, and he was so, he knew I worried, and I wasn't the type to be like, where are you? Like, I wasn't like that. And I think a lot of people was expecting me to be, just because I don't know if I'm like the girl he's out there or whatever. But I was like, I trust him. He's fine. We trust each other. I don't have anything about that, really. And our friends would be like, oh, really? Really? I'm like, no.
I would say don't force it. So there's this necessary need. People feel as though, like, you know, it's a long distance. You have to make things more complicated than it seems. And like she said, the fact that she wasn't, you know, I wouldn't say hounding me. She wasn't like, you know, where are you now? Like, where are you now? Like, you have to be, that would be considering forcing it. That adds more pressure to the situation. And knowing that we're still 2 individuals, and that we still have this deep-rooted love with each other, and that the ultimate thing is that we respect each other. And knowing that no matter what happens between your time zone and my time zone, my love for you is not going to change. So whatever happens, you know, you go about your day, I'll go about my day, but know that my love still remains the same for you.
And that's something we have to kind of repeat to each other always. Just like, listen, it's not that our love changed. Like, we have to keep that in mind, because when, like, there was one time, like, to be very transparent now, there was a time where, like, we were like, this is not going to work. And we actually, I'm not going to say break up.
We took a break.
It was a break. You know,
it was just break.
You know, I'll put that in quotes. And it was right before we were supposed to see each other for Christmas, and we had to say, like, are we going to still see each other or not? Because it was a really rough patch, because I was frustrated with not seeing him. He was frustrated with not seeing me. I was frustrated that I'm in school, and he's frustrated that he's teaching, like, you know, I don't know how many hours of classes each week. That tip to other couples, if you're in a long distance, is you have to be prepared for the simple fact that that could happen.
Holidays are rough.
Holidays are rough. Birthdays, any holiday, you know, that's rough. I actually lost a family member at the time too. And usually he would be here for me to physically lean on and physically for me to cry. I couldn't do that. And you know, he felt helpless because he can't come with me to the funeral. He can't come with me to be with me in a time where I really needed him to be. And that really just caused a kind of a shift in our relationship. And to tell the couples that you have to be prepared for that moment where you feel like we might have to break up, because it's especially if it's that long, it's going to happen. I can't see how it's not. But that silver lining part is, if you just make it through that one rough patch, it's going to be okay. But you have to get through that rough patch. It's that rough patch comes right at a time where you don't need it. And it's hard on both of you.
Always.
Right? Always.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
So those would probably be our top tips for people, really. And that really helped us through what I thought was going to be the end. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
I really thought, I was like, you know what? I don't know how he's going to come back here and we're going to survive this. I don't know.
Yeah. If she didn't come to visit during that Christmas break, I don't think we would have made it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard truth to say out loud because it's, 2 years later and we're fine. But at the time, it was really hard to go through.
Yeah.
You guys seem like such
ahead of your time.
Yes, like such a mature couple. And like all the things that you were saying is like the key things for marriage. Like keep God first, pray for not just yourself, but pray for the other person. Yep. And then you were talking about stressors, like you being in school, him trying to figure out this, all these different stressors happening, but remembering that you love the individual.
And even, just when you talked about just hold on through those rough patches.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're talking from a long distance relationship, but that's in relationships in general. Like because everybody's going to have issues, always going to have ups and downs. But if you could just hold on through those rough times, you can make it out and it will make you stronger because of it.
Yeah.
So that fits to long distance, but it fits to relationships as a whole.
Yeah, great
y'all
tip.
Y'all are ahead of your time.
I know, we trying to.
What are they putting in the water? What is what?
We trying to turn it around a little bit now so that you can ask us questions. I'm like,
you answered it. You answered it yourself now.
Oh no. Let's see. Question. I know I do have one question. I know, how long have you two been married? I forgot the
12 years. 12 years.
12 years?
Yep.
I applaud. Even after 12 years and now that you all have like kids and everything, how do you two stay in love after that long and having kids? That's my question.
Well, I think it's different in this time right now because we're in the whole pandemic and this quarantine. So the way that looks is a little different. But prior to this whole thing happening, we continue to date each other. We continue to date each other. We continue to pursue each other. And we continue to we laugh, we joke, we don't necessarily diminish tough situations, but we make light of stuff. Because as you said before, when you just hold through, it winds up making you stronger. And it wasn't even that big of a deal when you look back. You know what I mean?
And in our dating, we plan trips consistently that just include us.
We don't go to Bali. We don't go to China.
No. We might be in PA.
We'll be in Pennsylvania.
Listen, we recommend you do go to Bali though.
Exactly. I'm telling you.
But we never really felt, probably too, because when we got married, we already had kids.
Yeah.
So we never really felt like parent guilt. I think sometimes people feel parent guilt and they want to take their kids everywhere with them and stuff. We never really had that. Like we go out to dinner by ourselves.
Yep.
Y'all.
I tell you, we date each other. We continue to pursue each other. And one thing I'll say is that we understand that as life goes on and as life changes, people change. And they may not be the same person that you knew or that you married. And it's not a bad thing. People grow, people get better, people change their view on how life is. And you have to continue to get to know that new person they're developing to, into. So just a constant pursuit of each other.
I like that. Continue to date each other. You want to take me out on
Yep. Y'all dates look a little different than ours, though. You're like, you want to go on a date? Sure, let's go to Australia. Like, what?
I mean, I'm down with that too. We could do that.
Oh
too.
yeah.
All day long.
Hey,
look, you said you couldn't see any pepper. You might go out somewhere and see us. Be like, hey, what y'all doing there?
Hey, listen, we've been trying to, any couple we know, we're like, listen, you have to go here. We've already scoped out the places. We already know where to eat. Just go here. Like, we keep a whole log. We have a whole thing, what to do, what not to do.
Let's talk about that. I don't know if you guys have that like on a vlog or a document somewhere, but you said there was an article or something that you wrote before on tips. Where can people find it?
So my blog is writingiz.wordpress.com, and I started that, I think 2 years ago now, the 2020. Yeah, I started it 2 years ago, and there I talk about just anything in general. It's kind of like a life blog about any and everything. Mm-hmm. But along with the long distance relationship tips, I also have like travel series. So the first one is like a 10-part series when I was in China. I have one for Bali, Phuket, Thailand, China. I have all these different blogs about traveling that we did as a couple, and the different experiences we went through and tough times and all of that. So that's my blog that people can go on and find it.
That's a great resource, because I'm like a little scary. So like, I just think about we went to Dominican Republic for our honeymoon 12 years ago.
Oh,
that's a story in itself.
But yeah, when we got sick, I was like, wait a minute, we are not in America.
Yeah. And the last 3 days we got sick. I think we got food poisoning.
Oh no!
Was it food poisoning?
Oh no, it was the water. Something. I don't know. We didn't drink the water, but whatever they cooked, they used like the sink water.
Oh no!
But we got sick like we were supposed to go swimming with the dolphins. We couldn't do that. I think I pulled the muscle in my neck and I had to get a shot.
It was like, you are not in America, okay? And then now you're sick.
Right.
What you gonna do?
But
I said that's the other thing too. Sickness and traveling.
Yeah.
That is a whole nother, like you said, conversation in of itself. Because I've been sick. Only I got sick. He didn't get sick when I was traveling. Only I got sick.
Yeah.
Really bad. Like that was
Yep. It's interesting. We still made the best of it, and we talk about that trip all the time. We made friends, everything.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's good for couples to read about, in your blog, have a resource. As things start opening up now, people are gonna start going on vacations and going on trips. So they can check out your blog to see like what's popping, what's not, what's a good place to go to, and good stuff.
Yeah. My YouTube channel is also coming up too. So I'm starting that too.
Good.
It's going to be Akeem and Kaveena. So we're going to have a lot of videos and tips and stuff like that. It'll be like my blog, except you'll just see our faces. So
So you both are going to be in the videos, or?
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
Couple goals.
I want him to be. He's been trying to get me to put a vlog together anyway. I've just been kind of procrastinating on it.
Yeah.
But we're starting to do it a little bit more. So
good.
That's cool.
Even if it's like a couple videos you guys are in, I think you guys would just do great. So.
We have a lot of resourceful information.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, you have a maturity about yourselves. But do you have any more questions? I don't want to stop if you had questions for us.
You can finish up with your questions first.
Yeah, you can go ahead and finish that. I know that was my one question. It's just like, how do you stay in love after so long and stuff? So I know that was my one question.
Well, I think you answered one of them, which was we like to ask at the end, what are your couple's goals? Like, what's next for you guys? And I think I probably get an idea of where you guys are headed with the traveling and the vlogs and just kind of being a resource for people, which is great. Are there any other things that you guys have planned, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than getting married.
Other than getting married, other than planning a wedding.
Right.
Post COVID-19.
How was that?
That was we had a whole plan.
Yeah.
And then
COVID was like, no.
Our family was like, so you coming home? Because we were traveling. he proposed in Bali. We were in Bali when he proposed, and
he just like to do it right.
Off, man.
He has the water fountain.
I was like, I thought we were on vacation. He popped out with a ring. Okay, I was not expecting that. So
dating, right?
Right.
We had a whole like plan for when we came back, and then our family's like, yeah, no, y'all gotta come home. We were like, oh, okay.
You were like, so, oh, it's serious.
We were like, no, y'all coming home. And thank God, we both stayed in good health while traveling back home, because where we were, there were no cases at the time, so we were safe coming home. But that kind of threw off our plans a little bit that we had, so we had to kind of reconstruct the whole plan. So now that things are starting to get a little better, right now, really, we're both entrepreneurs with our own businesses individually and together. So really, it's kind of like a love and business type of combo that we're doing.
Awesome.
So that's our next.
We love those. Yeah.
I would say it's time for us to be building our empire. We're at the age now where the world is in our hands, and we can literally go after what our hearts desire. And I think starting off at a young age and building that empire with the person that you love, you're definitely gonna reap the benefits down the line. So sky's the limit for us.
And it's better together.
We definitely work better together. We realize that we have a flow and a vibe and a force that we can't really describe, honestly.
Especially after traveling.
Yes. That definitely just.
I think that whole piece is like, it opens your mind to like so many greater things than just where you're living at. I think the whole traveling piece can like set people up for such a greater level in their relationship. So keep doing that. We're gonna try to do that.
I encourage.
and trying to figure out where we're going. You got budget tips too?
I'm sorry?
Budget tips, yes.
Oh, budget tips
on how to budget.
Absolutely.
So he was the budget master. He's like, listen, babe, we got this much for this country with this currency. You cannot buy another souvenir.
So the thing is, when you travel abroad, you have to select the things that you want to do. And you want to make sure the things that you do are within your price range, just because, people think like, oh yeah, let's go to this outlandish country and have this fun time. But it's not so much the place, but the person you're with that makes the country so wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. So we would go to, one of the local places to eat, because it's like, okay, we already kind of spend a lot on this one, so we're gonna have to kind of lay low. But it didn't matter to us, because we just made it fun. We drunk some drinking like these foreign drink things together. It's like, you want to try it? I don't know, do you want to try it? Like have type of
the experience you want to have.
Right. If you're gonna have that experience where everything needs to be like this grand thing, then if that's you, then that's fine. But really, our most prized moments and most valuable moments were the times where it was very low key and like
the only extravagant thing I did was probably the proposal, which
was very extravagant, which I absolutely love.
That's why he had a tight budget, because he's like, look, for this thing to go down, you gotta put that souvenir back.
Okay then.
Listen, I understand so much more now why he was so like, babe, cannot. We're gonna have to eat pizza this time. We cannot. And I'm sitting there like, I didn't care, but I was just like, really? I thought we had it. All right, fine, whatever. I thought we saved up enough. In reality, he was planning for this big thing, and I had no idea. So it makes sense, but you have to have a budget, because we're paying for two people. Everything's double. And then you have to think of like the like emergency things, like, I don't know, coming home, which we weren't things like that. You have to have your spending budget, like for the trip, but you also have to have emergency funds, like, you know, I needed clothes randomly that we weren't expecting to buy, like stuff like that. So you have to take all that into account. If you forget your toothbrush, like some, you know, the hotel provides it. You know,
the little things,
right. You have to be prepared. So I think we've mastered budgeting, which took some time. But I feel like we're like masters at it now.
I would say my tip for young couples especially, you know, don't go out and spend all your money. No. Don't go out and portray an image that you got it.
Oh yeah, especially like millennials, like this young generation of trying to see more than it is on social media. You ain't got to do all that. It's not necessary. Just enjoy. Honestly, I wouldn't even say don't even post that much on social media while you're traveling. Post it later, like where you're, you know, but don't do it now. Enjoy the moment. If you're at a local place and it's not this extravagant things like you see social media influence, don't be ashamed of that. If you're going to Canada, okay. If you're traveling to California, okay. It doesn't have to be what you see on social media. I think that needs to be told as well to young people.
That's good. That's good. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
To just enjoy life.
Yeah. You know? The simple things. Because that's a marriage is going to be made up of a lot of simple moments that are important. And I just want to encourage y'all. So in this little conversation, I just hear so many things that's like, yes, they got this. Yes, they. I mean, even talking about like finances and budget, like that is a major issue for marriages and for couples. And so you guys have even already experienced that, you know. And so I'm just excited for this union and like the force that you're going to be.
I'm telling you, you guys are like phenomenal. And I really think that you know, you will provide the guidance for so many other upcoming couples, so many other couples that are in your age group, older couples. I think you guys have like this persona about you where it's easy to take advice from, you know, and it's easy to take instruction from. You're not like coming from a place where like, oh, we know everything, you know what I mean? Or we got it all figured out. Seriously. And you know, you guys, it's so humble. And you guys just love each other. You appreciate each other, and it's genuine.
And you've done the work.
Right.
Like you've been consistent on the course and done the work. So like, don't negate that. Just because you're not married, you guys have done a lot of the work that married people already. I mean, well, married people have to do.
Yeah.
So you're like miles ahead. Yeah.
I think that's the last thing I'll probably say is that a lot of people who know us, who may see this, you know, they see the pictures and, you know, the engagement, they see us all in love and stuff, but it's just like, that was work. That was harder than grad school, okay? It was harder than putting the pieces together. Like, I'm just saying, if you are not willing to do that, do not be in a relationship with somebody and waste their time, because that is just not how it's going to go. Everybody wants what they see on the internet and social media and TV. You have to put in the work for that. It is not just like, oh, okay, y'all are good. No, it was, and because we're so young, we had to learn. We're both the youngest in our families, so we had to learn at a fast rate as well, and just prepare for the relationship. So like, everyone's like, oh, when's the wedding? It's like, we're preparing for marriage, okay? Then we'll tell you what date. So it's just like, you know, you have to put in the work. That's probably the last thing I'll say about that. Because I feel like people think it's real easy when they see us. It's like, oh, Akeem and Kaveena, they got it. It's like, don't assume.
Right.
Like, So,
Gotta put in the work. So, appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys for being on and sharing your story. We really, I mean, it was very insightful. We tell everybody that this is not just for like us.
Oh, our guests.
This is our therapy too. Like, we learn from other couples. And it's just been very insightful and very refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go to Bali or something.
Definitely.
I
don't know about China. I don't know about China. But
not now.
China, listen. Don't even get me started with China, because I will go to Mr. Pancake Plus in Shanghai anytime. I'm just gonna put that out there. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say to you guys, you mentioned putting in the work, and I just want to say to you guys, for couples who are already been established, that you guys also paved the way for us, and to use a platform like this, and to want to get the perspective of a younger couple, a couple who has traveled and been through long distance relationships, that this is a bit of a homage to the work that you guys have put into to even form a platform like the ones that you guys have to get our stories out. So we're grateful to be sharing this experience with you guys, and we hope that one day, maybe you never know, we might do a little double date.
All right,
I'm telling you.
In Bali.
Look, we
in Bali.
We gonna be 4 peppers on the plane.
There you go.
Listen, they're gonna be like, they must be famous.
Right.
They must be.
Right. But yeah,
yes,
so
we really, really do appreciate it. Like Akeem said, this is really amazing, and we're humbled as a young, almost a newlywed, not yet, a young engaged couple that's looking at a seasoned couple, and just letting us speak out. Just because we're not married, we still have things to say, and you all listening and going back and forth. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you guys for your kind words. They trying to get on another show, another.
Right.
Like,
There'll be more.
No, but yeah, we definitely are. We're very humbled by those words. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you guys again for being on the show. I'm not concerned about people being impacted by this. I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from this, and not just with the whole, going on trips and things like that, but there's so many different things that this episode is going to benefit somebody in. So thank you guys.